Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Discuss. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest companies out there, Amazon. It was chosen by you guys pretty overwhelmingly over Carnival Cruise Lines and Pepsi. So I'll be talking at length about my thoughts on Amazon, some of the pros and cons, as well as some of the different statistics about their company. So stay tuned for that. But first things first, I do have a little bit of channel news. The Walmart gift card raffle giveaway has actually been extended. It was originally supposed to end yesterday, and the giveaway was actually supposed to be ran today, so I would pick a winner. But due to some delayed interest and some delayed entries, I have decided to extend it a full week. So now the new deadline is March 10th, which is next Wednesday, and the drawing will be done in the next Let's Discuss video on March 11th. So if you haven't gotten in yet, you still have plenty of time, but the first step to doing so is to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. So again, just want to make sure everyone's aware of that if you did not see my social media post. Other than that, guys, of course, just follow those social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok. I can be reached at all those platforms via the links in the description, so check that out. So before we get started today, guys, of course, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a financial expert. I just do these strictly for entertainment purposes, so I hope you guys do your own due diligence and research. Just use your own common sense when doing any investing and using your money. So I just want to say that off the top. With that being said, let's get ready to discuss Amazon. So today's discussion is going to follow the usual format where I'll talk a little bit about the company, some of their different statistics, if they pay a dividend, which in this case they do not, as well as some stock performance over the last couple months or years, and then some pros and cons. And then of course I'll finish up with my fair value estimate and my buy rating. So first things first, Amazon was founded in 1994. As a book retailer, an online book retailer specifically. By 1996, they had gone public and have done very, very well since then. They're currently trading at about a little over $3,000, about $3,025 at the current time. Their market cap is rather large at around 1.55 trillion. And that is trillion with a T. They're one of the few trillion-dollar companies in the world. But they are a little bit off of where they were just a couple months ago, but I'll talk a little more about that in a couple minutes. Their PE ratio is in the mid-70s, around 72 to 75. It's been fluctuating. And of course, like I just said, they do not pay a dividend. They pretty well focused on putting all of their earnings back into the business, and that's been very productive for them. But like I said, Amazon is a little bit below where it had been. They are trading around $3,000, but their 52-week high is around $3,550, so a little bit off the mark there. But when you compare that against their 52-week low of $1,625, it doesn't seem so much. Their recent stock performance has been a little bit down over the last 6 months, actually. They're down around 11%. But if you got in around a year ago, pre-pandemic, you're looking at gains of about 57%. Over the last 5 years, you're doing very, very well. You're up 425% or so. And then 10 years ago, they are up 1,640%. So they have done very, very well. Looking at annualized gains of 164% is pretty good, I would say. Amazon has really, really dominated the last 10 years, especially in the e-commerce space. They really changed the game, but they are so much more than just an e-commerce company at this point with their efforts in advertising and cloud computing, especially. AWS is one of their biggest earning segments of their business. With their high margins, and they have a lot of aspects about their company that most businesses could only dream of. Mostly has been driven due to very, very good leadership over the last couple of decades. Amazon, of course, has seen a little bit of trouble in the last couple months, but again, I'll discuss that in the pros and cons. If I did have to say one thing about Amazon, I would say that they will continue to do well for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. They do have competition, of course, Shopify, Walmart, Target, of course, all the big retailers, but I don't think any of them can quite match Amazon's diversity, especially when it comes to having such a loyal customer base. I believe at last count, the Prime subscription service had over 100 million users, which is just a breathtaking number. So I'm kind of leading into some of my pros and cons, so I will cover that next. So for this section of the video with pros and cons, I usually like to bring up 2 pros and 2 cons for every business I discuss. For Amazon, it wasn't too difficult to come up with at least a couple of pros. The first one to address is definitely that their revenues and their income is still skyrocketing. In Q4 alone, we saw their first $100 billion revenue quarter, which is just an outstanding, crazy number. We saw that rise around 45% year over year from Q4 2019. They're probably one of the few businesses that actually benefited from the pandemic, which could be either good or bad depending on how you look at it. But another thing is their income nearly doubled from 2019 to 2020. That is specifically their net income. Which again is just a crazy, crazy statistic. And then the other pro I want to discuss is the high profitability of some of their business segments, specifically with Prime and AWS. Prime has grown exponentially over the last couple of years due to Amazon keeping their promise of 2-day shipping or less, which is very convenient for anyone who is a home shopper, especially now during the pandemic. That's so essential to be able to get things very quickly when you're just at home. And that, coupled with their customer service, has created a very loyal customer base, which will stick around, I'm sure, far into the future. And then on the AWS, or Amazon Web Services side of things, their efforts in cloud computing and data analytics has been really cutting edge and has been a big boost for them. Similar efforts by other companies have been not profitable, at least anywhere near to the degree that AWS has been for Amazon. And it has such a wide range of uses for everyday use, for small businesses, even up to, even the major sports leagues use their web services for data analytics. So that is something to keep an eye on if you're an Amazon investor. It's very exciting, although that same data has gotten them into some hot water and trouble over the last couple months, which leads me into my first con. There has been some discussions of antitrust and regulatory concerns when it comes to Amazon and other big tech companies. There's been increasing bipartisan support in DC to pursue these acts, but I don't know if anything will ever come about it, because DC obviously struggles to get things done very quickly. So this may be something that we don't have to look at for maybe a couple more years. So just have something there on the back burner. And then the other concern that I have, which is really more just a nitpick, but had to come up with something, and that is the high PE ratio. Generally, I consider the 30s to be high PE, but theirs is in the 70s, which is more than double what I normally consider to be on the high end of the spectrum. But again, that's just more of a nitpick. Their PE ratio has always been very, very high, but it's just still something that could suggest some overvaluation, which could be playing a role in what we've seen over the last couple of months. In fact, due to the downtrend of the last couple of weeks, Amazon is actually below its 200-day moving average. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple weeks as far as its buying potential. So now for my purchase rating and my fair value estimate. This was a pretty easy call to make, but Amazon is definitely a buy. It's a almost must-have holding for any portfolio, regardless of age or investing goals. Although they do not offer a dividend, Amazon still offers huge growth upside, um, which kind of plays a role in my fair value estimate. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Amazon is a $2 trillion company, which is a little bit off of where they are currently. So I would have to put their fair value estimate at $3,800, which I know some people think is very ambitious and very bullish, but I'm very confident that probably within the next year or so we could see Amazon at 3,800, which would be about $300 above their current all-time highs. Depending on how things go, it could take a little bit longer to get there, but as we've seen over the last year, anything is possible. So I feel confident that anything under $3,800 at these current times is fair value for Amazon. So that's gonna wrap things up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like, and if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all of my latest content. And then, of course, if you have any thoughts of your own about Amazon, drop those down below. I'm sure people will both agree and disagree with me, so just let me know however you feel. But again, I hope you check out my latest M1 Journey video on Monday. That was a pretty good video as well. But yep, I'll catch you guys on the next M1 Journey video on Monday. Thanks, guys.